Ferrari just revealed their 2026 car, and they've made decisions nobody saw coming. The SF-26 brings back a suspension design that Ferrari abandoned 16 years ago, runs a power unit splitting output 50-50 between combustion and electric, and carries rumours about an engine innovation so radical that Ferrari still refuses to confirm it publicly. This isn't an evolution, it's a complete reset. But here's what most coverage missed entirely. Some of the facts circulating about this car are flat out wrong, and one design choice might tell us exactly where Ferrari believes they can beat Mercedes. Let's break down what's actually hidden inside this car. The biggest surprise starts with the suspension, where Ferrari decided to run push-rod configuration at both axles. Now, that might not sound dramatic until you understand what it actually means in context. Last year's SF-25 used pull-rod suspension at both the front and rear, following the same approach as every competitive Ferrari in the ground effect era. Pull rod became the standard because it worked brilliantly with the Venturi tunnels that generated most of the car's downforce. But those tunnels no longer exist under the 2026 regulations. They've been eliminated entirely. And Ferrari didn't just make a small adjustment to their approach. They completely reversed their entire suspension philosophy. The rear pushrod setup carries special significance because the last Ferrari to run this configuration was the F10 back in 2010. That's the car Fernando Alonso drove to within 4 points of the championship that season. 16 years passed before Ferrari brought this concept back. So why does pushrod matter? It offers better accessibility for engineers working on the car, provides more direct management of unsprung masses, and delivers superior setup flexibility at circuits where Ferrari has historically struggled to find pace. But here's the catch that made this decision so risky. Switching to pushrod forced Ferrari to completely redesign the gearbox from scratch. Engineers had to relocate all the suspension kinematics to the upper part of the transmission, which freed up the lower section for diffuser optimization, but created massive packaging challenges throughout the car. Ferrari bet their entire season on a suspension philosophy they haven't run in over a decade. And that's where things get interesting. One detail about the front suspension got reported incorrectly across multiple outlets. Ferrari moved their steering arm behind the lower wishbone, and several publications claimed this innovation originated from Williams before moving to McLaren. That lineage is wrong. McLaren pioneered this solution on their MCL-38 during the 2024 season, moving the track rod arms from in front of the lower suspension to behind it. This allowed engineers to mount the arms slightly lower and cascade them with the wishbone, creating cleaner airflow into the floor where downforce gets generated. Mercedes copied the McLaren solution, and now Ferrari adopts it for their own car. What this reveals about Ferrari matters more than the detail itself. The team isn't afraid to take ideas that work elsewhere and implement them within their own unique aerodynamic package, rather than insisting on inventing everything themselves. Combining pushrod suspension with McLaren-style steering geometry creates something nobody has seen before on the grid. Ferrari isn't copying any single team directly. Instead, they're synthesizing multiple concepts into one coherent vision. And that vision centers entirely on one thing: the power unit. The 2026 regulations fundamentally change how Formula One cars generate power, and the numbers tell the story clearly. The internal combustion engine produces roughly 400 kilowatts. The MGU-K produces 350 kilowatts. That creates a nearly 50-50 balance between combustion and electric power. Something nobody has seen before in this sport. That MGU-K figure represents nearly triple the power output compared to the current generation of cars. But the bigger story involves what's missing from the power unit entirely: the MGU-H that harvested energy from exhaust gases. It no longer exists under these regulations, and teams spent an entire decade optimizing that component. Ferrari's power unit director pointed to 3 critical changes: the increase in electric power delivered through only an MGU-K, the introduction of 99% sustainable fuel, and the elimination of the MGU-H that returns the sport to a standard turbocharged engine configuration. Teams cannot carry forward their MGU-H expertise into this new era. Everyone starts from scratch on energy management strategy, but Ferrari might have developed an edge that nobody else possesses, and this is where the speculation becomes genuinely interesting. Multiple paddock sources report that Ferrari developed something unprecedented for their power unit, specifically a steel alloy cylinder head incorporating copper and ceramic composites. If accurate, this would represent a Formula One's first in the modern era. Steel can withstand combustion pressures and temperatures that aluminum simply cannot handle, which potentially allows Ferrari to extract more performance from the internal combustion side of the power equation than their competitors can achieve. Austrian engine specialist AVL reportedly assisted with durability improvements on the project, and the concept was apparently pioneered by Wolf Zimmermann, who served as Ferrari's former head of ICE research and development before departing for Audi. The steel cylinder head remains the most discussed yet unverified aspect of the SF-26 across the paddock. Italian motorsport media treats the reports as established fact. Paddock insiders speak about it openly, but Ferrari maintains complete silence on the topic. The reason for hiding this becomes clear when you consider the competitive implications. If Ferrari believes they've found a genuine advantage, confirming it publicly only helps rivals understand what direction to pursue. What we know for certain involves the regulations themselves. The 2026 rules increased minimum power unit weight from 120 kilograms to 150 kilograms. That 30 kilogram allowance reduces any weight penalty from heavier steel construction significantly. So think about this. If Ferrari gambled on steel and the concept delivers results, they could hold a fundamental engine advantage that rivals cannot easily replicate. If the steel head doesn't work as planned, they've built their entire championship campaign around a flawed concept. That's the magnitude of risk Ferrari chose to accept. Now, let's talk about the change every driver will feel most directly. DRS no longer exists. Both the front and rear wings now feature movable elements controlled by the driver. 3 elements make up the front wing instead of the previous 4, with the upper 2 elements movable through actuators integrated within the end plates. The rear wing uses a triple element arrangement for its active Aero functionality. 3 distinct modes control how the system operates throughout each lap. Corner mode serves as the default configuration, keeping wings in their high downforce position. Straight mode opens the wings to reduce drag on designated straights, where top speed matters most. And partial mode puts the front wing in straight configuration, while keeping the rear in corner mode, reserved for wet or dangerous conditions where balance becomes critical. But here's the difference from DRS that matters most. Active Aero works for everyone, regardless of gaps to other cars. No 1-second gap requirement exists under these rules. Any driver can activate the system in designated zones at any time, and it closes automatically when braking or lifting off the throttle. During the Fiorano Shakedown, Hamilton was observed frantically activating and deactivating the movable wings while leaving the garage, experimenting with the feel and learning how the car responds to sudden configuration changes before even reaching the track. Leclerc captured the driver challenge when discussing how they need to relearn most of the programs and understand the system far better to extract maximum performance. The implications for how drivers manage racing itself are significant. The teams who master active Aero deployment first will hold a genuine advantage in the opening races, and this goes beyond simple car speed into the territory of driver adaptation and learning curves. Speaking of the shakedown, let's clear something up. Videos from Fiorano showed Hamilton's car stopped on track. Social media exploded with speculation about a breakdown that could signal deeper problems. The truth? Far more mundane than the rumours suggested. Ferrari confirmed there were no issues with the car. That stoppage was planned from the beginning. Ferrari only had a 15-kilometre demonstration event allocation, which translates to roughly 5 laps at Fiorano's short circuit. Hamilton drove 3 of those laps, while Leclerc needed the remaining 2. To conserve their limited mileage allocation, Hamilton performed a practice start procedure, and then mechanics recovered the car manually rather than having him burn precious kilometres driving back to the pits. No breakdown occurred, no reliability crisis emerged, just careful mileage management within tight regulatory constraints. But what happened the night before reveals more about Ferrari's approach than the shakedown itself. Team principal Vasseur revealed that the car reached completion just the day before the shakedown. He described the timeline as aggressive. Final? Assembly happened within 24 hours of Hamilton climbing into the cockpit for his first laps. Ferrari still completed all 5 planned laps without mechanical issues, despite that compressed timeline, collecting the data they wanted from the limited running available. Barcelona testing starts January 26th, and that's where the real evaluation begins. Ferrari calls this version of the SF-26 Spec A, and that designation tells you everything about their strategic approach. Technical Director Sarah confirmed that evolutions will arrive for Barcelona, with further developments planned for Bahrain testing. The Fiorano car represents a foundation built for reliability and functional simplicity, rather than outright performance from day one. But a challenge exists that Ferrari acknowledges privately. 700 to 68 kilograms. That's the 2026 minimum weight requirement, roughly 30 kilograms lighter than current cars need to be. Reports suggest Ferrari started approximately 5 to 7 kilograms above that target. Some competitors, they may be running as much as 15 kilograms over the minimum weight limit. Every kilogram costs roughly 0.03 of a second per lap in Formula One. Multiply that deficit across race distance, and significant time loss compounds throughout each Grand Prix. Ferrari's development plan involves aggressive weight reduction throughout the season. The pushrod suspension, revised gearbox and new battery configuration all contribute to packaging that will eventually hit the target. Nobody will reach minimum weight at Melbourne when the season begins in March. Now, let's compare the SF-26 to the Mercedes W17, because this reveals how differently these two teams interpreted identical regulations. Ferrari and Mercedes made opposite choices across multiple design areas. Nose design shows the clearest philosophical split between the approaches. Mercedes features a more extreme undercut that directs more air to the underfloor. Technical analyst Gary Anderson noted that Ferrari may need to reconsider their approach if downforce generation proves to be the performance differentiator. Cooling strategy diverges in ways that could matter at specific circuits throughout the calendar. Ferrari uses a standalone small triangular airbox, the smallest among all 2026 cars revealed so far. Mercedes combines their engine air intake with cooling in a larger multipurpose inlet that allows smaller radiator openings on the side pods. Anderson raised a fair question. Which approach will provide sufficient cooling when ambient temperatures hit 35 degrees at certain races? Even the active aerodynamics implementation differs between these two championship contenders. Ferrari moves 2 flaps on the front wing. Mercedes moves only 1. That represents a fundamental philosophical disagreement about balancing drag reduction against stability. Neither approach appears obviously correct from the outside. Both teams are gambling on their interpretation proving superior once racing begins. And that uncertainty captures the real story of 2026. Vasseur described these regulations as probably the biggest change Formula One has seen over the last 25 years, and nothing about the SF-26 suggests that assessment is exaggerated. Ferrari changed the chassis, the engine, the battery, the tyres, and the sporting regulations simultaneously. Everything got rebuilt from scratch without carrying forward assumptions from previous seasons. The SF-26 brings back suspension technology abandoned 16 years ago, runs a power unit where electric and combustion power are nearly equal, and features active aerodynamics that every driver must master from zero experience. And somewhere inside that engine, a steel cylinder head might give Ferrari an advantage that nobody can replicate quickly through conventional development. Or that steel head might not exist at all in the form people believe. That's the gamble Ferrari made with this car. They didn't chase what worked last year or try to evolve existing concepts gradually. They built what they believe works for this entirely new era of the sport. Hamilton captured the mood after his first laps, describing himself as massively excited in a way he admits he would never have said in all his previous years. New beginnings, in his words, and genuine excitement about what comes next. Barcelona testing starts January 26th, with the season opening at Melbourne in early March. By then, everyone will know whether Ferrari's hidden updates represented genius or miscalculation. Until that moment arrives, this is what we actually know about the SF-26, and it's far more than most people realise.